what do you think of the greening of the CAP as we are talking about it a lot now? Is it for you a new kind of positive evolution, or is it something useless? I don't know.
The greening has good parts, but it's not really made for the practice.
Okay.
It asks from the farmers a lot of things that are not logical and are not practical, and they really, in European Parliament and in European Commission, they should talk to the practice, to the people who provide us with food, the producers. They know how you can best produce food, produce enough food, try to avoid waste. And a lot of the things that I see written down for us to do don't have anything to do with really greening.
Really do. Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
Nobody is going to be greener in the world, not at all. And it's not practical, so you will even lose more farmers.
So maybe you can tell us more, because that's the big word we hear now, sustainability. But nobody really knows what to put behind this word. So maybe you can tell us, each of you, like what is what you understand or about sustainability. Why and how can we ensure more sustainable agriculture?
For us in Africa, and especially in Kenya, sustainability would mean promoting food sovereignty, whereby we develop and practice production of our own foods that are ecologically friendly and are sustainable in terms of seed sovereignty and even in terms of management without using a lot of external inputs. More even so going for organic agriculture, because most of the traditional crops that we grow do very well with organic matter than even having to use external inputs. So, and again, the other thing is the conservation of the environment. Working on our environment in such a manner that we plant more trees, we harvest the waters because we suffer from drought, and if we can have enough water, then we can have crops and greens throughout the year.
Okay, so that's food sovereignty issue is also one of a big topic now in the EU institution as well. It goes with the food security you were talking before, and in a lot of reports now we talk about that and how to achieve this food sovereignty and how can we ensure that every country, every region in the world achieve this sovereignty. So do you feel when you are here then that people are listening and kind of take into account what you say about that, or?
Yes, there's some element of listening, because practically in our situation, we have realized that green revolution has been a detrimental practice to our environment and especially the soil. The soil is the element that sustains or that builds food production. And we realize that because of our diversification, we don't grow only one crop. We do a lot of rotation. We do mixed cropping. And that one has built into our food production, increase in food production at household level, let alone even at the country level, but at household level, especially for the producers. And what food sovereignty talks about is that diversity, different varieties, different seasonalities, eating different foods, different seasonalities, because that is being provided for. And that is what we practice. And that is what I've realized that Europe is craving to do, go back to do that kind of, to mixed cropping and that kind of thing.
Because that's part of the reform as well, trying to diversify and ensure biodiversity and keeping the soil alive. Mm. So what about you, Seita, about sustainability? Like, how would you?
Well, I talked about it with a lot of people, and if you want to have a sustainable agricultural policy, you really need to look at price. if you want your milk to produce in a certain way, pay producers so that they can produce in that way. If you want people to have vegetables, to grow vegetables, then make sure that in that system they will earn enough money to produce vegetables like the European community wants. And that's always neglected. A lot of demands come, but they never come with a cost of production list. The Commission is very often talking about the market is good or the market is a little less, and they only talk about price in Europe. And that's it's a little bit disrespectful. That's stupid. Market is bigger than price alone. If I hear a commissioner or a very high man from the Commission say that, well, we have a good milk market because the milk price is 10% higher than last year. And then I ask him, well, and do you know the level of the costs? No, he did not know that. Well, how can you say that the market is good? Because the cost of feed, of energy, of soy, it doesn't matter what we need, have gone up much higher than our milk price. And the milk price has collapsed in the last weeks. We are now in a situation that's worse than 2009. And then we have a representative of the Commission saying, no, it's not a crisis, yesterday in the Parliament. And I think, under which stone do you live? Get into the practice. If you want to have sustainable agricultural policy in Europe, please listen to farmers, because they can tell you a lot more than what you hear here in the buildings in Brussels. You are far from reality.
So would you say then about that the lobbying then that is being made is mostly coming from, I don't know, too big multinational and not enough from maybe people like you from the ground?
We have an economic crisis, and they want to solve it by exporting more. Exporting especially more food, exporting it to India, to Africa, to every region in the world that doesn't really need it. So that's still
an objective, then export more food?
Yes, it's the whole discussion with India. Europe wants to get on the Indian market, not because it's good for the Indian people, no, because it's good for Europe. We want to get Indian money to solve our problems here. And as long as that is the tune in the European Commission and the Parliament, they are not going to solve problems. They are just going to create more.
Yes. Maybe we can finish by you, Joe. What is your feeling about sustainability? How would you define it?
In the U.S., we've got a growing organic market, and there's a case where the consumers are using their dollars to move the market in the direction they want it to go, and that's really the more powerful way to move things, is to use your dollars. And if you want to see changes in how cattle are handled and how food is produced, you choose the type of food that is grown the way you want it, and if you're willing to pay for that, you will get it, and the market will respond and give you that. On another note, I read an article that said in 1940 the average U.S. farmer produced enough food and fiber for 19 people, and 72 years later the average U.S. farmer now feeds 155 people, and that sounds like a very great leap in efficiency. But now I find out the U.S. economy consumes 25% of the world's energy, and I think the farmers use more than our share of commercial fertilizer and chemicals. And when you add that all back up, and now countries like China want to do like us and produce more milk, and they want to do it the way we do it. And so now we're going to have more competition for those same resources of fertilizer and stuff. And as far as the environment, you can't sustain the fields that grow the crops if the cows are 2,000 miles away, and then you can't sustain the environment if the fields that grew the crops, you can't get the manure back to where it came from. So you've got a surplus of nutrients in the dairy areas if you concentrate them in those areas, while you have a shortage of nutrients in the crop growing areas. So plus all the freight in between. So we had a really nice sustainable system going 25 years ago, and in the name of efficiency, we threw it out the window and shifted all the cows out to the desert. So I think we lost our sustainability, and we better turn that around.
So you were just talking about more competition with more countries coming into that agricultural competition market. Do you think we need, and do you think it's possible to do a governance of agriculture policy at a world level? But we see that already at the European level. It has been a hot topic in the last decade. So, but should we need maybe a better governance at a world level?
Yes, and they first have to make very clear what the goals are. If at number one is competition, then you can forget sustainability. But you can also forget a lot of farmers, and farms will get in the hands of investors, and you will only have the hired labor. And you have nothing to say anymore about transparency, about quality, diversity, because that's the end result. And WTO, I think we would have a lot more benefit with WAO, so World Agricultural Organizations, with a lot of practicing farmers from the different regions. Because when we talk to each other as farmers, we also always realize we have exactly the same problems, and they are always the result of policy. Exactly. Because the policy makes it possible to parasite on farmers, because that's what the rest of the chain is doing.
So maybe you should start this World Agricultural Organization then.
Yes, well, with EMB we are on a good way. It are all farmers who want a sustainable and fair system. So no dumping of overproduction in African countries that do not need it. We want to produce the products, the milk products, with extra value, because they can be sold at a good price. They can be sold to the real consumers. And the only thing that we do with dumping our overproduction in other regions is ruin the farms of other people. And we don't want that.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, we have a tradition. We always ask our guests as a last question, are they optimistic or pessimistic for the future? So we have heard a lot of your critics. So maybe you can tell us are you, optimistic or maybe pessimistic, and what's the next way forward for you?
Like for us in Kenya, I think we're optimistic. If we stick into our own operations, promoting food sovereignty, we will feed ourselves and even maybe feed the world in the future.
That's a positive message. What about you?
I'm still positive, but it has to do with the changing character of the European community. I see that the people change. They do not want to eat just dumping products. They want a good and a high quality variety of food. And it's are only the people who in a democracy make the difference. So I hope they will raise their voice and they will change politicians, because politicians listen to the people.
Yeah, I hope so too. What about you, Joe?
I guess I realized a long time ago I was not going to survive in farming if I was not an optimist. And I'd continue to be an optimist. And the reason today that I can see optimism is we've always had global trade. That's really nothing new. But what we have now that's going to give us the opportunity to find those consumers that are willing to give farmers a fair share is now we have global information, including programs like this, where the word gets out and people everywhere, anywhere, can get on the internet, look up green farming, look up organic farming, look up whatever. It's available more and more to everyone. So we have a more educated consumer population, and consumers demand what they want with their checkbook at the grocery stores. We're going to give the consumers what they want, and I think we can shape policy from that end.
Well, thank you. So that's on this positive note that we can end this broadcast. I thank you a lot for having been with us today, and that was a pleasure, and we wish you all the best for the future. Thanks everyone for listening to that broadcast of EOBC, and please feel free to download it online on our website, www.generation112.eu and www.eurogenants.eu. And see you next time in EOBC. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.